Have you ever wondered why some people can sip a steaming cup of black coffee, savoring every complex note as if it were a fine wine, while for others, that same cup tastes like a bitter, acrid punishment? It's a daily ritual for millions, yet the experience is profoundly, dramatically different from person to person. One person tastes hints of chocolate and cherry, another tastes only burnt ash. What's going on here? Is it just a matter of acquired taste? Or is there something deeper, something coded into our very biology that dictates this reaction? And it's not just coffee. Let's talk about one of the most divisive herbs on the planet, cilantro. For a huge portion of the population, it's the bright, citrusy, herbaceous kick that perfectly completes a taco or a bowl of pho. It's fresh, it's vibrant, it's essential. But for a significant minority, that same green leaf tastes overwhelmingly of soap, or even crushed bugs. They're not being dramatic. Their brains are receiving a completely different set of signals. The answer to both of these culinary mysteries and many more lies in a fascinating corner of human genetics and a concept known as being a super taster. This isn't just about a few polarizing foods. Think about the sharp, bracing bitterness of grapefruit, the sulfurous notes in Brussels sprouts or broccoli, or even the hoppy intensity of an IPA beer. Why do some of us crave these strong, challenging flavors while others physically recoil? The common assumption is that it's all about what you grew up with, your culture, or simply your personal preference. And while those things play a role, they are only part of the story. The real foundation of your flavor world is built on your unique genetic blueprint. On the surface of your tongue are tiny bumps called fungiform papillae, and nestled within them are your taste buds. But here's the secret. Not everyone has the same number of them. Some people, known as non-tasters, have a relatively sparse scattering. They live in a muted flavor world, where tastes are less intense, allowing them to enjoy a wide range of foods without being overwhelmed. On the opposite end of the spectrum are the super tasters. These individuals have a much higher density of papillae, packing their tongues with an incredible number of taste buds. They experience the world of flavor in high definition. Now, being a super taster might sound like a superpower, and in some ways it is. They can detect subtle nuances in food and drink that others miss entirely. They might be the person who can name every spice in a curry or discern the faintest hint of oak in a wine. But this heightened sensitivity is a double-edged sword. That same ability makes them extremely sensitive to bitterness, which is why black coffee, dark chocolate, and cruciferous vegetables can be unbearable. The sweetness of sugar and the burn of alcohol are also amplified, which can be unpleasant. They live in a world where flavors are constantly shouting, when for the rest of us, they're merely talking. This isn't just a fun party trick, it has profound implications for our health, our history, and even our economy. Our sensitivity to bitterness, for example, is controlled by a specific gene called TAS2R38. From an evolutionary standpoint, this was a survival mechanism, helping our ancestors avoid poisonous plants, which are often bitter. But today, that same genetic trait might cause someone to avoid incredibly healthy foods like kale and broccoli, potentially impacting their long-term health. This genetic lottery influences everything from childhood pickiness to adult dietary habits. It's a challenge that food scientists and chefs grapple with every day. How do you create a product or a dish that delights a super taster without tasting bland to a non-taster? So, where do you fall on this spectrum? Are you a super taster, a non-taster, or somewhere in the middle? Understanding your own taste perception is the first step to understanding your relationship with food in a whole new way. Throughout this video, we're going to journey deep into the science of taste. We'll explore the specific genes that make cilantro soapy and coffee bitter. We'll even show you a simple test you can do at home to discover your own taster status. We'll uncover how this hidden sense shapes your diet, your health, and your culinary world. Today, we're diving into the fascinating science of taste. Hit that like button if you've ever argued with someone about whether a food is delicious or disgusting, and subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss a moment of this exploration. And let us know in the comments, what's the one food that you and your friends can never agree on? Let the great taste debate begin. Have you ever truly considered the intricate world that exists on the surface of your own tongue? It's not a simple, smooth landscape. Instead, it's a complex terrain covered in thousands of tiny bumps known as papillae. These aren't just for texture, they are the gatekeepers of taste, housing the microscopic organs that define our entire culinary experience. Hidden within the crevices of these papillae are the true heroes of flavor, your taste buds. Each taste bud is a remarkable bundle of about 50 to 100 specialized gustatory cells. Think of them as highly sensitive chemical detectors. When you take a bite of food, molecules from that food dissolve in your saliva and wash over the tongue, seeping into a tiny opening on each taste bud called the taste pore. Inside, these molecules bind to specific protein receptors on the gustatory cells. This simple act of binding triggers a complex chain reaction, firing off a nerve impulse that travels along a dedicated pathway straight to your brain. In a fraction of a second, your brain decodes this message, instantly telling you what you're experiencing. These signals are sorted into 5 fundamental categories that form the foundation of all flavors. Sweetness, often triggered by sugars, is our evolutionary cue for identifying energy-rich foods. Saltiness, the detection of sodium ions, is vital for regulating our body's fluid balance. Sourness, a reaction to acids, acts as a natural warning sign for unripe or spoiled foods. Umami, the savory and meaty taste from glutamates, signals the presence of protein. And finally, there's bitterness. This is our primary defense mechanism, a highly sensitive system designed to detect a vast array of potentially toxic compounds often found in plants. But here is where the universal experience of taste becomes deeply personal. Not everyone perceives these 5 tastes with the same intensity because not everyone has the same number of taste buds. The average person has around 10,000 taste buds. However, our individual genetics can cause this number to vary wildly. This genetic lottery gives rise to 3 distinct groups: non-tasters, medium tasters, and the aptly named super tasters. Super tasters can have twice as many taste buds, or even more. Their tongues are packed with sensory receptors. This heightened density is linked to a gene called TAS2R38, which governs our sensitivity to bitter compounds. For a super taster, the world of flavor is dialed up to 11. When they eat, their tongue isn't just tasting, it's being flooded with an overwhelming cascade of intense signals. This isn't a matter of being a picky eater, it's a profound biological difference. The subtle bitterness in broccoli can be overpowering, the heat from a chili pepper can feel excruciating, and the richness of fatty foods can be perceived as unpleasantly slick. Their entire perception of food is fundamentally different, all because of the dense, supercharged sensory world living on their tongue. Have you ever been in a heated debate over dinner? You push your Brussels sprouts around your plate, unable to stomach the intense bitterness, while your friend happily devours them, claiming they taste nutty and delicious. You might be called a picky eater, but what if the truth is far more complex, written not in your personality, but in your very genetic code? The reason for this stark difference is mostly genetic, and it all comes down to a fascinating story of biology. The journey to understanding this begins, as many scientific breakthroughs do, with an accident. In 1931, a chemist named Arthur Fox was working with a compound called phenylthiocarbamide, or PTC. When some of the powder accidentally blew into the air, his lab partner complained of an intensely bitter taste. Fox, standing right beside him, tasted absolutely nothing. This simple observation launched decades of research, leading scientists to a single gene, TAS2R38. Think of your DNA as a massive cookbook, and genes are the individual recipes. The TAS2R38 gene is the recipe for a specific type of taste receptor protein on your tongue, one designed to detect a particular category of bitter compounds. But here's the crucial part: not everyone has the exact same recipe. There are different versions or alleles of this gene. The 2 most common are nicknamed PAV and AVI. If you inherit 2 copies of the taster allele, PAV, you're what scientists call a super taster. You are equipped with a high number of these specific bitter receptors, making you extremely sensitive. If you have 2 copies of the non-taster allele, AVI, you're on the other end of the spectrum, and that same food might taste mild or even uninteresting. Most people fall somewhere in between, with 1 copy of each allele, making them tasters with a moderate but still noticeable sensitivity to these bitter flavors. So what exactly are these receptors detecting? It's a class of compounds called glucosinolates, found in abundance in cruciferous vegetables like kale, cabbage, and Brussels sprouts. For a super taster, the interaction between these compounds and their receptors sends a powerful danger signal to the brain. But it's not just about vegetables. This genetic variation also influences how you perceive the bitterness in tonic water, dark chocolate, and coffee. Why would evolution create such a divide? A strong aversion to bitterness was likely a vital survival tool for our ancestors, helping them avoid toxic plants. The taster gene was a built-in poison detector. The non-taster gene may have become advantageous in regions where nutritious but bitter plants were a key food source, allowing people to benefit from them without repulsion. So it's not about being picky, it's literally written in your DNA. That's why your friend enjoys kale while you can barely swallow it. Your experience of flavor is uniquely yours, hardwired by millennia of evolution. The cilantro soap problem comes from genetic variations in smell receptors, not taste buds. When someone says cilantro tastes like soap, it's not in their head, it's a genuine sensory experience. Food arguments will never end. Super tasters often avoid bitter vegetables packed with nutrients, leading to lower vegetable intake. But super tasters also avoid extremely sweet and fatty foods, potentially leading to better health outcomes. Scientists test using PTC strips. To most people they're tasteless, but to super tasters, they're incredibly bitter. You can test at home with blue food coloring and a magnifying glass. Dense dots mean you might be a super taster. So are you a super taster? Next time you try bitter foods, pay attention. Does it taste overwhelming? You might be part of the 25% who are super tasters. Comment with foods you can't stand, hit like, and subscribe for more science secrets.